From the roar of the crowd to the roar of the engine, this is Pit Pass.
Pit Pass is brought to you by Jake's Karts and by Buttonwood Campground. Here's your host, Ron Fox.
Hello and thanks for joining us for another Pit Pass. Before we get on with this week's show, first I'd like to make a correction from last week. I had said that this past Sunday there was a $10,000 to win kart race at Central PA Speedway. That payday will be part of the Koala Bear Nationals in October. I apologize for any mix-up. So now on to the show. This week, Pit Pass visits a couple of Jefferson County tracks for only the second time this season. Technically, although I've been to Thunder Mountain Speedway 3 times this season, twice it was rained out. So that's where we will start this week's show. In the steel block late models, the front row consisted of the 72 of Dave Buchanan and Denny Fenton in the 55. At the start of the race, Fenton wastes no time in jumping to the lead going into turn 1. Behind them, they are 4 wide in a battle for 4th. The 14 of Terry Rayco takes the spot, leaving the 51 of Chuck Kennedy racing Matt Gaston in the 47 for 5th. After a couple of restarts, Gaston is able to work the high side of Rayco to grab the 4th spot. As he enters turn 3, he tries the same on Buchanan, who has fallen to 3rd. Up front, Kennedy is closing in on Fenton. In 1 and 2, Kennedy works the low side, but as they exit turn 2, Fenton is able to clear the 51 car. As they approach turn 3, Kennedy dives low in an effort to take over the lead. Fenton holds on to 1st. On lap 8, Gaston, who started 8th, powers by Kennedy for 2nd. In 3 and 4, the 47 car is able to pull up on the tail of the 55 machine. Fenton then moves low going into 1, while Gaston holds to running the outer group. It works for him as he moves into 1st place. A couple of drivers putting on a great show were the 102 of Rick Maxim and 15 of Luke Hoffner as they contest the 6th spot. Then Gaston slows to enter the pits. This hands the lead back to Fenton, who has several car lengths on Kennedy. As the white flag was waving, Greg Kent spins in turn 2, while Rayco is pointed in the wrong direction in 3 and 4. With a green-white checker finish, Fenton gets a great restart over Kennedy. Behind them, Buchanan is trying to hold off the 96 of John Brady for 3rd place. But it's Denny Fenton going on to record his 2nd feature of the season. I was able to catch up with him on Sunday to discuss his latest victory. Denny, congratulations. You backed up your heat win with a race win there in the feature. You and Kennedy had a good battle there for a while.
Yeah, I saw him underneath me a couple laps there, and I just moved up a little bit, and the car seemed to be working better, and then I didn't see him again, so I figured we had it under control for a little bit.
What were you thinking when you saw Gaston come up there? I mean, he's one of the guys to beat up there.
Yeah, he is one of the guys to beat, and he's the one that will fly around that high side, and that's where I kind of figured he'd be. I kind of figured he'd get me on the top if he was going to get me at all, and I didn't know how close he was. I didn't know how quick he was going to come, but whenever he came around me, I knew that was who it was whenever I heard him up there.
Did you think of taking away his line at any point there?
No. My car works a lot better on the bottom. It drives off a lot harder off the bottom. I moved up to try to keep up with them, and we kind of hurt the tires a little bit, but didn't really lose any ground until I fell off the backstretch there a lap or 2. Then we started closing ground on them again.
And what were you thinking when you saw him pull off?
Well, I knew I had to get back to the bottom. I feel bad for people braking because you want to beat them while they're on the track. But I knew I had to get right back to the bottom because he was the only one that was going to go high on me.
Next week is the big race that will not only pay a lot of money, but also give you a guaranteed spot into the Steel Block Nationals at Central PA Speedway. So this certainly has to build your confidence going into next week.
Oh yeah, it does build our confidence. We know we got to work on the car a little harder. It wasn't 100%, but it still was good enough to get the win after Matt broke. But we just need to keep working hard, and we'll get the car to come through. And what they do over at Thunder Mountain for the Steel Block race, along with Robbie Leonard, my uncle, everybody who's supporting this race over there, it's just a great thing.
So it's Denny Fenton, your winner, followed by Kennedy, Buchanan, Brady, and Hoffner. In the Superstock feature, Gary Luzier had the pole position with the 99X of Eric Bond to his outside. Luzier had the lead briefly before Bond pulls even through 1 and 2. But off of turn 2, Luzier is able to regain sole possession of the top spot. Then as they enter 3, Skip Lindemuth in the 22 begins to catch Bond through the corner. As Luzier continues to lead, Lindemuth works the inside of Bond. They are side by side off of 2, but Lindemuth is able to take away the second position. It would only take a couple of laps before Lindemuth passes Luzier for the lead going down the front stretch. One driver wasting no time getting to the front was the 16 of Rusty Martz. Here he drag races Luzier to move up to second place before they hit turn 1. On the same lap, Martz gets loose and is hit by Luzier, collecting others in the accident. Luzier is charged with the caution and Martz gets his position back. For a number of laps, Martz pressured Lindemuth while Dom Sora in the 3 car was not far behind in third. Finally, Martz decides to try the outside of Lindemuth through 3 and 4. Lindemuth gets a little out of shape as Martz drives on by and Sora has to check up. Even with a late race caution, Martz held off Lindemuth for the win. Sora finished third with Jeff Meeson fourth and fifth went to Bond. As you heard in Denny Fenton's interview, this Friday Thunder Mountain Speedway will host a $2,500 to win steel block late model race. The winner is automatically qualified for the Steel Block Nationals at Central PA Speedway next month. It should be a great race. And on a related note, there is a monster super late model engine in the works. More on that when Pit Pass returns.